Hello and welcome everyone, I'm C.S.Gilmore and this is Powerwash Simulator, where you have to clean the helter-skelter. As you know from previous correspondence, my helter-skelter is filthy dirty after rolling down the entire length of Willow Creek. We don't need to revisit specifics, all we need concern ourselves with is that we cannot live in a world where a helter-skelter is being economically outperformed by a carousel. Many thanks, Kevin. Interesting. Well, let's jump in here and see if we get interesting dialogue. Alright, not bad. I hope this won't be a giant mess to, I hope this won't be annoyingly frustrating to clean. But we will see. So far, not bad for a start. Okay. Alright. Now then, as for our subjects of discussion today, let me see. I think it's going to be a couple different things, depending on how long this takes. For starters, I'm going to talk a bit about Inkshade. It's a game I just finished recording all for, and you'll probably have seen or have available most, if not all, of that series by the time you see this. Give or take a little bit. Or it might be about to come up. Depends on quite where I end up placing this. I'm not sure yet. In the whole release schedule. Whatever the case, Inkshade definitely took inspiration from Inscription. Yeah, not Encryption. Inscription. And I would say that was a good thing. Inscription was amazing. I loved that. And the game and Inkshade was also good. What I will say is I felt that Inkshade did a good job. It definitely held itself out as something individual and separate from Inscription, while definitely calling to mind similarities. In fact, at one point they basically made a reference to Inscription, which was a nice touch of just going one of those nod of the head of hey, yeah, this inspired us to create this game type of deal. And I'm good with that. The game was fun. It was interesting. I don't feel it had some good puzzles, and it had some good I love the world building, the storytelling. I don't think it was quite as complex as Inscription was in regards to its world design and what was going on with it, but that was also probably some differences in similarities. Inscription played itself off as a game. It was literally a game, but it was also more than a game. And there was hints at some deeper stuff in the actual world, as well as the world of the game itself and how those crossed over between each other. There was a lot to it, you might say. In that regard, that I don't believe Inkshade really had as much. It had a singular world, more so, but it was well portrayed, and I love the world building. If anything, I kind of wish I'd gotten a bit more of the world building, and I could have through continuing to play it more after beating it, I suppose. But the way it gives lore was it plays like a lot of roguelikes or roguelites. Well, roguelite, I think, is what it would classify as. I'm not sure. Anyway, it plays a lot like that. Of you go through a series of events, and sometimes you hit areas where you get lore. And so with that, depending on how well you did, and we did very well, I feel. We didn't have as many replays as might be really necessary in order to get a majority of the lore. But we did get a good chunk. I know we didn't get all. But we got enough to get a really good shape of the world anyway, I feel, and I'm happy with that. That said, I think it also left a lot less to the imagination as far as the world design went. Like Inscription, there's a lot of, wait, so did this happen? What is this? How far deep does this rabbit hole go? Type deal. And Inkshade, I feel, didn't quite go as deep in that regard, but it was still good and a lot of fun. And I enjoyed the storyline of it, and even though I kind of pieced some of it together ahead of like the full reveal of it. It did go in some directions I didn't expect, and it was fun, like I said. So that was Inkshade in a lot of ways. Good game. I liked the gameplay. Criticisms for the game. I feel like it was literally too dark. Not like, oh, that's some dark source material. Ooh, that was very dark. I mean, like, literally dark. Like, I would like to be able to see a little better. I set everything, like, as bright as I could for a lot of it, and there were still a lot of areas I couldn't see, like, confidently enough to say, oh yeah, I saw that. And part of that was, I could tell that was on purpose for the design of the game, for a lot of cases, and to maintain some of the mystery and to set an atmosphere. And I can understand that but it was still one of those areas where it went just a little too dark for comfort. I feel like that's not the right word. It was a little too dark to, like, just dark enough to hamper the enjoyment, just slightly. So if there was a change I would make, it would be that you could actually make it bright enough to see details and appreciate them. Because I feel like there was a good chunk of work at times that went into that game design and the level design that couldn't be properly appreciated because I couldn't see it well enough to really go, gee, that's really sick. Admittedly, it could also hide some flaws in some of the design, but I don't think it really, the way they portrayed it, I don't see that really being the case. And yeah, so that would be my main criticism with it, is that it was too dark to see enough to quite get as much of enjoyment out of it as I might have otherwise. My second criticism of it would be some of the units and like some of the content of the game only really comes into play once you hit kind of New Game Plus challenge mode stuff, which I felt I didn't have enough drive or reason to do that. I mean, maybe, just maybe, it's some way of unlocking like a second secret ending or something like that if you beat the game under these conditions, and I missed out on that. But yeah, I didn't feel like it held enough to warrant me playing through beyond finishing the game, as far as it looked like a full finish of the main storyline and all of that. That said, the New Game Plus looked like it had promise. It was more of a less New Game Plus and more of a challenge run type deal. But anyway, like I said, I feel like it held promise. It just wasn't enough to keep me going with the game beyond beating the storyline. As far as I could tell, it ended. And that's where something that Inscription managed to do, because they made it clear that there was more story involved, and with other extracurricular challenges, there was more to it, of the world building and of the general just layout. Kev's getting his Helter Skelter clean now, is he? That's hilarious. This must have been that guy we cleaned the carousel for. I can see how that goes. Alright. We got that. I think we got through most of this first layer. Don't listen to his claptrap. That thing's been an eyesore for years. Quite the interesting rivalry they have. Alright. So yeah, good game. I would say they earned its price point. And though with the Inkshade, I feel it earned its price point. Though definitely, if you get it on sale, even better. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And some people will probably get even more enjoyment out of it than I did. Some people maybe less. Some of the battles got a little repetitive. after a few runs, but at the same time, they had some mechanics there that changed it up enough to keep it from being exactly the same. I won't spoil those entirely, but they had a few things in check to make sure you couldn't just steamroll the early levels completely. Though I feel like the scaling didn't quite balance out in a way that would prevent it from happening. It definitely, kept it better than it would have been without. All right, getting some major progress on this cleaning. Yeah, I like how quickly this is coming apart, and I'm hoping we don't have some annoying super rusty spot that like never comes clean unless you use a special fluid on it or a really tight nozzle, because those areas in this game are annoying. All right, I know we're gonna have to come back to this door decoration from the higher angles and probably some closer ones as well. All right, first let me get in here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to really say about Inkshade. I hope you watched the series, 8 episodes, so it held for a while there. A good amount of time, and yeah, lots of interesting things. And I'm not sure if I really discovered everything that game had to hold, just because of the fact that while I did unlock all the units, I'm not sure if I ran into everything that they might throw at you in the runs. Really, because I might miss some levels, I might have missed some development that would have happened over more time if I hadn't done so amazingly well after a while. I will say Starseers, and a few of my episodes kind of mention it. Starseers are overpowered once you upgrade them. Compared to most units, their range and power are just annihilating. There were a few exceptions, but I was able to make it work. And yeah, so really, we get a few. Oh man, got a little distance. Oh, had a little more success. Got a little further run. We had a few runs where we had a bit of. Okay, we had a little success here, a little success there. Oh, we beat this, we beat that. We got a little further, and then suddenly it was just and we're on a roll, and nothing can stop us. Just we hit a point. Once we got some Starseers, it was and now we go. And now we will dismantle this whole setup and find some amazing things. And yeah, it went from little bits of progress to, okay, we're done here type of levels of progress in a lot of ways. Because we just destroyed it all of a sudden. What in the world? All at the fairground, knock over all of the coconuts. Oh, those were coconuts. Okay. Also, I didn't realize that was an achievement. I just saw this there and I was like, I have to try, right? And it worked. Alright. Interesting. Anything else in here? Anything different from what we had already seen? I'm trying to remember. Was the Helter Skelter something we saw before? I think it was in the distance, wasn't it? I can't remember for sure. I do like that we can still come see the carousel we cleaned previously. Oh, wait, what was that sign? I saw some indicator of some interaction. What was that? What was that? I am not sure what that was or how to activate it. Oh, there it was. I saw it again for a second. You all saw that too, right? I'm not sure what that indicator was about, but it was definitely, there was something there for a minute. Just a few seconds. Disappeared before I could really read. Did it again. You know, we'll move on. Pick up placement. Oh, is it this? I didn't realize we could pick that up from across the field, basically. Alright. Well, we'll put this here for now, and guess we'll start climbing up. I would really have liked to have a ladder for some better mid-range or mid-height that I could also get up close with, because I feel like this is a little pushing the distance. To get the right angles that I need for this washing job. Okay, anyway, Inkshade, yeah, talked about that, done with that. I, as expected, have not gotten done with this since that discussion, so I want to talk about another subject. So previously we had talked about like water temples and things like that in, say, Dungeons and Dragons and some of the use of that. Given what the subject of Inkshade and how one of my big things there was lighting, I want to talk about use of lighting and atmosphere, that like stuff like that in D&D, because I feel like that's something that gets overlooked a lot, or it's used very specifically like it's dark, you can't see, usually followed by someone going, I have just blanked on the name, like, I have dark vision. That was it. Usually followed by someone going, I have dark vision, and or something else along those lines. So I want to bring into mind here that dark vision is not foolproof, nor is it particularly like the best. It's a good vision style, but like it's good to have, especially in a darker situation, and usually means, yeah, you can function in the dark. But really it's you can function in low light areas effectively. It's not like if it's pitch black and there is no light at all, even dark vision is going to be, having trouble. And if you bring in magical darkness, it gets even more so. But yeah, yeah, that's their second tier panel. Okay, that's there. I think, you know what? I think our best approach is actually to go up this slide. Let's clean this off a little bit first. Yeah, dark vision isn't as powerful as it usually is portrayed, I feel, because there are ways around it, and even it doesn't just mean you can see in the dark. You still need a little light, and then it's probably going to be like you can see, but like in black and white. You're not going to get colors. You're not going to get as much detail. You're using a different light spectrum to some extent. And yeah, I feel like it's usually not given enough detail to really like have your players even think about it. They just go, I have dark vision, so I can see a little bit, and usually the DMs are like, yeah, you can see a bit. Or no, this is magic darkness. You can't see anything. Still. Then you got someone who's got like blind sight or something somehow, and you're just like, yeah, alright, whatever. Your technique is excellent. Thanks. I really want to know how these people are watching me secretly. I want to just look over and see someone standing in like the bushes with binoculars or something. Jet control, 8 out of 10. Okay. Knowledge of apertures, 9 out of 10. Okay. Your statement is weirding me out a little bit. Soap discretion, 8.5 out of 10. Thanks. Stance, 9.3 out of 10. Yeah, you're definitely watching me somewhere, creeper. creepers. What is up with these people? Congratulations. Okay. Well, that's on the list of did not need to have that conversation, and does not help dissuade me from staying creepo. And I wish I could see where they were watching me from. Okay. Well, different sort of seeing a vision. This is where it's like, okay, did they get a natural stealth? Did they get a really good stealth check? Or am I got a really low perception check? Really, it's they just didn't put that in the game, I'm almost certain. But it would be really funny if you could really actually see someone like watching you from some weird angle. As if they had nothing better to do other than to spy on you cleaning some item or building or whatever. And to weirdly reach out and comment on it via text message. I'm gonna have to go back down through the slide just to get the inside walls a little better. Probably. But I'd rather that than and while getting this upper area a little clearer and quicker. Anyhow, so yeah. So far, so good. I like this reflection. I find it funny that we don't have a reflection, but I do like that they gave a different reflection in there of like the structure itself. But I find it funny, yeah, we don't have a reflection now. All right. Now, aspect of vision in D&D that I don't think it's used nearly as much. At least I don't recall seeing it nearly as often. And that would be the opposite of using dark, using light. I mean, you might get the occasional puzzle or something where it's like, yes, there's a strangely bright beam of light cascading through here. Redirect these mirrors to who solves this puzzle by striking this crystal in the center of the chamber, or something weird like that. There's ways they can be used, but like as far as what your characters see and or don't see, if your characters are very annoying and be able to see all sorts of junk, you could also work the opposite of just the room's so dark you can't see anything to the room's so bright you can't see anything. In fact, it hurts to have your eyes open looking into this room. And that can be a whole different approach to your party being able to see something while also bringing something new to the table for them. Also, possibly giving them a little more of a fright. Because a lot of the times, yes, magical darkness, we were probably dealing with some evil entity and blah, blah, blah. So why is a bunch of super bright, probably magical lighting mean? Are we dealing with a deity? Are we dealing with something on the other end of the spectrum, essentially? Or, or is it something masquerading as light? Maybe it's actually dark, but it like something that's dark affiliated, but that likes to use light and lighting. Why am I missing a bunch of this one rail? I'm kind of confused on that. This one rail compared to this rail, is it the side on the outside? Or are we talking about something else here with that? Anyway. So yeah, a room that your party can't see in because it's so bright, if you look in there, you're basically temporarily blinded. If you continue to stare in there, you risk even greater blindness. There's ways you could work around it, like maybe this would require your party to get creative. Do they find a way to create some sort of super sunglasses. Does it help there? In some way? Maybe, maybe not. Also, you get the party involved at least that way. Like, what if it is a magical light? So then, and they can't really like see through it, even if they put on, say, a welder's mask, or maybe they have to, create a welder's mask or whatever to do it. Even then, it's probably only one of your party members that can see anything. But what if it's less of a it's like I said, it's a magical light, and the welder's mask doesn't do diddly squat to help you. What then? Do you give up, or do you find a different way? As a DM, you could have some options. Let your party be creative here. Let them think of a solution, and as they think of those solutions, what could work as a solution. What if they throw magical darkness at the magical light? That could be interesting. Would that have the effect of canceling each other out? Or would one of them overpower the other? But if it did overpower the other to an extent, would it still have some effect? Could you use a magical darkness spell to counteract the magical light enough to actually see the room and see what's hiding in that light? And you could throw some horrible things at your party. After all, a lot of monsters don't even have eyes. Glad to see you're starting to get out in the world. I need someone with your skill and integrity at my private hangar. Okay, I'm guessing that means we'll be washing a plane next? Suggestions for improvement. Oh, good, you're back. Well, you can talk. You can continue. 1. Fire your jet up into the air and let gravity do the rest. Yeah, that would be sweet, except for the physics in this game doesn't allow me to do that because the water just stops existing after a while. 2. Use a succession of single bursts from point-blank range to significantly reduce water usage. Suppose that would work in real life to some extent. In either case, time and wetness may become factors. But at the same time, it also would lack some aspects there, so would that really help? I don't know. Vertical frame. Okay, Okay, let's talk about this. Alright, yeah. That's gonna be dirty for a bit. We have to go up higher. Alright. Also, having mentioned those light beam type puzzles, you see in a lot of video games and things. I believe, kind of going on with the water temple discussion, temples in, say, Ocarina of Time use that a lot, and I know a lot of other games. I mean, Slime Rancher 2 uses a light beam effect at some points for a puzzle, for at least one puzzle, maybe more. I haven't played all the way through Slime Rancher 2, but it's a fun one that some of my kids really like, so I've been playing it in my less non-recorded time. Get up here. There we go. We're above the annoying facial thing. Let me get some angling. I'm gonna have to drop down on top of it, aren't I? Just to get that door decoration all the way clean. There's a few angles there that are moving a little touchy. Alright, yeah, we're gonna go. Or we're not, because apparently dropping down on top of that doesn't work. Okay. Well, good to know. Well, we got it anyway. Moving on. Where am I missing on this panel? There we go. That panel's done, that panel's done. This panel. Gotcha. Slide support. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get underneath the slide in a way that I can reach these supports. That's gonna be possibly tricky, unless there was a ladder lying around somewhere that I missed. It would help with some of that. But yeah, the laser puzzles can be fun. They can be a little tricky to do with a party in D&D, especially if you're like my party where we don't really use minis. We just use our imagination and visualization for a battlefield like 99% of the time. In that case, it can be tricky to really portray certain things because, it's all theater of the mind and you're trying to convey this a modicum of unity in vision to multiple individuals. And that can be tricky. Okay, have to figure out how to get some of these panels. That's gonna be also tricky. Channel lights. Okay, bid on those two. Good. Another favorite for puzzles and traps involving light. I want to say it's been a while since I watched them. I want to say Indiana Jones had a good trap that involved light beams. What's that? Something else. I'm trying to remember now. It's been a long time. Might have been more of a breeze with spiderwebs. Though I'm thinking of Indiana Jones. But anyway, yeah, you could always have it be like light beams, but they're actually, a trip for a trap. So, like, you disturb the light beam, you get hit by something. You activate the trap, it swings at you, boom. That is an entirely viable option for certain trap design. And then you have the party having to work their way through, probably through some skill checks, or for at least one of the party members to get through the first time, and then if they've worked out a way to then make it so the rest of the party can get through after them. That can be a good way to do it. Or to, slightly isolate a party member or three while someone's solving a puzzle, while then the rest get ambushed, or the one solving the puzzle gets ambushed. That sort of deal, and have the party have to figure out how to react to it. Of course, then if it is like a light trip puzzle, how do you prevent that? Well, you could go with, say, invisible servants. There's a couple of invisible enemies that then wouldn't, say, affect the light trap nearly as much, or if at all. And so you could easily have those sorts of things in there to complicate solving the puzzle a little bit for your party. There's also the whole, you could always do the reverse. Maybe they have to stay in the light. Equally as have a potential for being challenging, especially if, say, the light is shifting and sliding as they go, and so it could be given as a, okay, you did really well for this part and this part, but I do want to have this be a little bit of a challenge. Now this next bit starts flowing with, like, as if in a breeze, shifting the layers of where things were. Or another way you could do it is there's a room that is all lit up, and there's a description of there's a map, but this would require you to split the party, which is generally can be a little bit of a hassle for some DMs, and it can also generally be ill-advised for the party. And there's ways around it, of course, like anything in D&D, because there's so many darn spells and tricks you could pull to work around it. But you could have the party split up a bit, and one party member is like, maybe the party's still in communication with their various members, but they are separated. And one party member comes to a large room, looks suspicious, tiled floor and the like, and but it's all lit. Meanwhile, one of the other members in a different area, maybe with a some form of communication available between their rooms, but you could limit or widen that depending as how you need for the party. Maybe they already have communication between themselves, maybe, and they don't need really any help. Maybe you throw them a bone and put a communication line between the two rooms. And then this could be a fun one for interacting with players and gaining player engagement, not just character engagement, but player engagement. The player that is in another area, not in the room with all the light, gets a drawing given to them of, okay, you see this diagram on the wall. And, kind of like how a lot of escape rooms, sometimes you have to have people communicating between each other to try to describe what they're seeing or what they're thinking, so that the other person can actually enter it into the puzzle. Work on that. If a basis, the one per player who's separated from the party gets the solution, and then you can't have the player just show the other players, here's the answer, here's what I see, because that would be breaking the game, as it were, because their characters can't see what the other players see. So have it so the player that does see has to describe it, has to give details, instructions, and guidance to the other party member on, okay, here's what I'm seeing. Let them figure out, is this a solution to their puzzle? Chances are your players will figure that out. Probably. Maybe not. It depends on your players. Always have to account for someone's going to be stupid or or not even stupid. As always, chances are you go right into some players that are. Or depending on how long you played the game and how many people you've played with. But also, you could just be right into a situation of, they're tired after a long day of work, their brain's not fully functioning. And they're staring straight at the solution and going, squiggly line. Not putting two and two together at all. And, that's fair. Sometimes you just have those days. I don't know how many times I myself have played a game and I've stared directly at the puzzle and gone, I don't understand how this works at all. And I've had to either look up a solution or take a ridiculous amount of time trying to solve it until I did come up with the solution. But it usually took time, and it took effort, and it took a lot of going, okay, now I understand. Or, wait, is it this? No. Experimentation. But yeah, as a DM, work with it, make sure everyone's having fun still, and if your party's just playing game frustrated and they can't continue the game because they can't solve this puzzle, maybe have them find like a Stella somewhere buried in some dust. Like, you do notice as you're looking around trying to solve this puzzle, there's some rubbish over in the corner here. Maybe, and you search that, and there you go. You found some hints at a solution to what you were dealing with. That sort of thing, you can throw your party a bone as needed. Don't just give them the solution generally, but throw them a bone, let them experiment, let them figure things out. Probably don't make the trap instantly lethal, though you certainly could. I mean, nothing is stopping you from going, haha, you set off the trap, die. Do you think it would be too much to use an enormous catapult at the top to propel my customers down the slide? Yes, that sounds like too much. Don't do that. That also sounds amazingly unsafe. I would like my Helter Skelter to be the world's fastest. If you want to do something like that, one, you're going to need to probably change the design of the Helter Skelter to be fully encapsulated like a slide, not just this sort of slide. You're going to want a Helter Skelter that has like a water slide where it's a full tunnel. That way, No matter how fast your people go, they aren't going to crash and die by flinging off into space. Then you're going to have to work on some other matters. What is 34th tier reading rate? Right there. I think? No? Oh, yeah, okay, that frame up there. Wait, sorry. Think? No. Not quite sure what it's talking about. Or it's that ring that goes around the base. I see. Alright, I gotta keep working on this. But, yeah, you want to make a design here where the slide would be fully encapsulated to avoid people blasting off into space, Team Rocket style, when you catapult them. Second, you have to work out the right level of tension in the catapult, or the sling would be more likely to be a proper solution for that. A catapult suggests you flinging them off into space. You probably want something more like a sling that is just propelling them forward into the tunnel, or like hooking onto their mat and then pulling them along. However, it depends on the design of the slide. Yeah, but anyway, you want to make sure that it's safe and that they aren't going to go and break their neck, unless they're grossly disobeying safety regulations, and then it's kind of on them at that point. Probably have to have a safety waiver for anything going too high speed, and yeah, usual problems of trying to maintain legality in a questionable situation of who's responsible for injuries. Also, if you're depending on how fast you're going to need to give a splash zone, possibly quite literally, like a water slide with water. You're also going to need to have some degree of, otherwise, like, yeah, something to make sure that they aren't going to come out the end of that tunnel upside down and break their neck. You don't want to have too much sideways velocity there, or they're going to need a longer tube or something along those lines that they can break down their momentum. The downside of that sort of tube or slide setup is, of course, you still have to maintain cleanliness in there. If someone barfs on there, you're going to have to hose out the whole thing to get it cleaned out. But you kind of have to do that anyway, I suppose. So is it really that much of a hassle comparatively as to otherwise? And also then you've got to account for other matters like, yeah, like I said, momentum mostly, dispersion-wise. They need a splash zone, something that can break up their momentum without, breaking them. Usual problems of high speed to low speed. You need your customers to survive the experience and to enjoy it, and not file lawsuits for harm, injury, and/or death. Tricky solutions sometimes to come by when you have a device that is probably not designed to be gentle about it. Missing something still on that ring. Channel lights is missing something on this one. Probably up between there. I'm going to have to get up there again. There we go. That ring's done. Excellent. We're making good progress around the edges of this thing. What other things could you use for a break at the end? Yeah, water's a good option in a lot of cases, but say you don't want it to be a water slide, you gotta... I mean, if you add water into the equation, it would also be a good way to reduce some friction so that they can travel quickly without, sticking and burning and whatnot. Rug burn would be unpleasant otherwise. You could also use... what else could you use? My mind says ball pit, but I feel like that would fall vastly short of desired results. Alright, we're going good there. Making a lot of progress on our cleaning. Be nice if I didn't have to constantly drop down to reposition it and go up again and annoyed you so much. Yeah, good, we're good. Alright, that part's done. Gotta get under this paneling, but also I have to get inside of this thing, and it's gonna be an awkward angle. Progress. There we go. There we go. Fifth tier ring. Fifth tier panel. Okay, that I'm less concerned about. As long as I get down below here, I can get the rest from up above. There we go. Alright, get this angling on the railing. There we go, at least I don't have to drop all the way down again. Sorry, I'm getting a little engrossed in this cleaning project. Hope you don't mind. Some of these angles are interesting, and I think we're making good progress. This is a little further out than I probably should put it. It's so hard to get this thing. My one big complaint with these big scaffolding setups is they are really annoying to get close enough to be helpful in some specific areas, especially more so than others. But yeah, they're generally difficult to get close enough to work quite the way I want them to. Okay, good. We're good. We're good. I'm happy with that. Alright, gotta go over again. Where is it? Alright, I guess we have to go down here and right there. I think that'll work. It might be slightly too far out to get a few of the things. Gnome? Ooh, that's a different look. Hold on. That's a different looking gnome. Interesting. I see you. I find it interesting that the gnomes are starting to have some differences to them, other than the one gnome that we saw over and over again for the longest time. We're finally getting some variation in our gnome spies, and I'm curious to see where that's ultimately aiming for, as it were. Like, is there going to be something involving that more so in the storyline? That'd be a funny one. All this volcanic activity, and they've dug into some gnome hill is part of it. Right. Of course, that would be a thermal-powered settlement at that point, which would be interesting. Viable, I suppose, depending on how you did it. Okay, we got that. We got that. This tier ring. Yeah. No, don't fall. Don't fall. Okay. We're good on a lot of this. And I think the rest of this we can kind of just hit from here. Good. Alright, let's continue our work. And finish our cleansing of this place. Cleanse, cleanse, cleanse. I don't think this will take too much longer unless this upper area is a real doozy. Come on. Even with the free aim here, it's a little close, so it's really flinging around anyway. I like the look of this. Also, man, this thing has so much color to it now that I have it cleaned up considerably. I like that, and it looks nice. Once again, unrealistic thing in this game. Me washing from the bottom up. Okay, sorry, I was kind of stuck there for a minute. I was supposed to get an angle on that. Come on. How am I supposed to get angles in on some of this? Here we go. It's annoyingly placed, but we made it work. Okay. Now we're up. I feel like this is the point where most of our work is now just fully on this place. I do like that they made these panels like one big thing instead of little piece, little piece, little piece. Because that makes this a little nicer. Ooh! Thoughts for another puzzle with lighting. No one said that the lighting had to be in the standard light spectrum. I mean, chances are dark vision is probably using maybe some aspect of ultraviolet exposure, or maybe like, yeah, probably. I want to say it's probably higher ultraviolet rather than lower frame of lighting, the wavelength wise. So, yeah, you get this. What if it really helps to have someone with dark vision actually, but in the slightly different way. Like they're the. This is probably when you have to make a call on as a DM. Like, is it appropriate for my party? Because of like you don't want to throw something out that they absolutely have no chance of figuring out. But like, say they have some member of the party or two or three that have dark vision, throw something at them that only those characters can see. Either for like a puzzle solution, the challenge itself. Like, yeah, they get to a room and it just looks like a normal room, and have them everyone roll perception checks, like you probably would when they just enter a room in general, to see what they can find. To give you an idea of what you describe for their descriptions. Then go work from there. Depending on what they roll and all, you can then be like, you notice this and this. You see this room and it looks like this for this reason. As far as you can tell, this is the way it is and why it is. But then, if one of the dark vision people rolls well on their whole setup there, then you can go and be like, and you see a trail on the ground, sliding between panels or tiles on the floor, or from one end of starting at your end of the room and traveling across. You see a path that, and it would be fun to have that work in there, and then do they mention it to the rest of the party? How does that work out for how they interact? It depends on your party in a lot of the cases. but maybe then that person has to be the leader at the moment to guide the rest of the party members across this room without stepping in a bad spot that could, say, cause unfortunate harm. Okay, I feel like I'm missing any spots on this thing. Don't see where. Top door frame? Yeah, the door frame. About that. Where am I missing a spot on this thing? There we go. Got it wherever it was. Okay. But, yeah, then that could be a good way to give one of your party members a bit of time to shine. Of, okay, you, or maybe a couple of you, can see this while the rest of you don't. And have them try, like, don't just tell them, oh, it's because you have dark vision. And that's why. You can see outside the standard vision spectrum a little better. But no, rather, maybe it's, like, have it make sense. Or maybe let them put two and two together. Maybe they just think, whatever, maybe you just happen to roll better on perception. Maybe you just happen to have been chosen as by like the god or goddess of this place to be able to be part of their, like, to be able to solve their trial. You could leave it in so many paths and different aspects there that let your party come to their own conclusions. And that's the important part of storytelling is you give answers. Yes, you have to keep the party engaged. You have to have them understand enough to draw conclusions and to work things out and not feel like they've been cheated of something they should have known or should have realized. But that doesn't mean like you have to spell everything out for them. Every little drop of storyline and design. You don't have to tell them, this was done by these people to make it for this challenge purpose to test these things. No, maybe if they, especially if it's a religious setup, you could be like, or a wizard, like or some sort of cult club group. You could be like, have them roll an intelligence check, a religion check, or arcana, something along those lines, and be like, they could maybe, given the info you've said already, you could be like, putting two and two together, like, you get the sense that maybe this was used as a challenge room or trial for supplicants to prove their worthiness to receive, to join the order or to receive aid. They have to prove themselves that they were favored by the god or goddess or by the, patron warlock and worshipped entity, etc., and so forth. Just to, maybe just be worthy of the organization's time. You can run so many things there that give storyline and world building without forcing it, like, without just straight up telling them everything. But you can also have ways for the party to discover something that they may not put two and two together as a player otherwise, and then this way you can still get the joy as a DM of going, yeah, so I designed it like this, but also now they can still have fun with it, learning it and figuring it out. And feeling like it's not just oh yes, the DM is telling me about their world that they built. Yeah, that's nice, they get to do that because they did put a lot of time into building it. But no, let it be more of like they are discovering the world. And then, like, what the DM tells you is either what you have discovered for sure to some degree, or it's items that the character would know being a part of that world. Like, yes, you came here knowing that this was the headquarters of the mercenary group Oop. Sandbar's Buccaneers, which you know from rumors and or from perhaps personal experience aren't actually Buccaneers at all. So it's a misleading name, but they use that to throw people off, make people think, oh yeah, we're a little more ship savvy or a little more. You could approach us with questionable deals, but then they're actually like a branch of the law enforcement for the Navy, and they're familiar with ships and they can play the part, but they use this to help them hunt down piratical activity to some extent. Though obviously they don't, make that obvious. But over time, it came out that was what was going on. They're an old group, no longer around, something like that. Use it to you can world build with a lot of this, but try to keep it to where your player characters would know without the DM just throwing information out that no one would reasonably know in the party. And sometimes it could be as simple as, yeah, you've heard some weird rumors suggesting something along these lines, but let your players piece something together. Let them come to their own conclusions. Chances are good, depending on your party and what you've thought of, your party's going to think of something better than what you thought of anyway. That whole idea, like, you've probably seen some memes about it, where the DM, where the party's like, man, I bet so-and-so is actually the big bad evil guy, posing as this person with this and that, and doing this, because they did this, and that was really fishy. And then the DM's like, well, it was the idea, but now I'm going to have to change it, because you all guessed it really easily. Don't. If they guessed it right, great. Let the party feel smart and have fun with it. What am I missing on this stupid thing? I don't know what I'm missing. Probably some railing or paneling somewhere. Okay, that's all done. That's all done. We haven't got this. Oh, yeah, you've got 3 pieces left to roll yet. So it's something with little bits. Or a lot of spots. Placing all this railing. But, trying to think here. Sorry. Well, focus. Aside. Window frame. There we go. Wasn't it? That wasn't enough to kick it over. Railing's all good. But yeah, I don't know. Apologies if I'm kind of hammering home something that's like, yeah, obviously. For some people, that sort of thing isn't as obvious, and so I wanted to make sure I was clear. Like, and some DMs have trouble letting go. Some DMs have trouble letting the party be part of the creation process of the world. Especially if you're one of those DMs that's created everything down to the minute details, it can be hard to have your party come in and interpret something differently, or straight up blow a hole in your initial world building, requiring you to have to swing with the punches and adjust to it. But a big part of being a good DM is the swinging with the punches part, because you're going to have to figure out how to do that at times in such a way that your party feels immersed and isn't getting pulled out of it by you going, shoot, that wasn't the way it actually is, but okay. Like, you don't correct your party. Maybe they are wrong and everything, and you can have them be wrong. Sometimes that's okay. That can be an interesting reveal for later, when they run into the actual big bad evil guy, and their big bad evil guy goes, so you've caught on to my plan to do this, and they're like, wait, that's your plan? You weren't doing this to do this? No, why would I do that? That's silly. I didn't even plan for that. Or, would have probably been a good idea if, depending on your evil guy, maybe they are a little more humble, as it were. But, no, that wasn't part of the plan. I was here to deal with this other thing. What do you mean? Why do you think I'm the big bad evil guy? I'm not here to do that. I'm here because the kingdom's infrastructure is crumbling and no one was fixing it. So I had to hire golems and the undead in order to go into this area because it's filled with poison gas. Oh wait, stairs, slide frames, second tier panels. Okay, slide frame. What's a slide frame? Well, oh, one of these. Okay, I missed a slide frame somewhere. Which one are you? You. Alright, this one here is. But, yeah, let your party be part of that. And it can be a fun reveal of, oh, we came here. You'll never get away with your evil scheme to rob the palace armory. I'm not robbing the armory. I'm trying to fix it. Because someone left the gate open and now half the stuff's rusted and no one checks it regularly because they're underfunded and the kingdom's in danger. Like, you could do all sorts of weird stuff. There's so many weird scenarios you could throw in there just to break expectation with your party without feeling like you cheated them and let them go and piece something, but have them still be able to piece stuff together in a way that they go, ah, cool, we got some ideas of the world, we got some of that right. Let them feel smart, but don't always necessarily give it all to them. And if they haven't pieced it all together, or maybe they did, but there's room for it to be a little more obscure, doesn't mean you can't alter things before it finally gets locked in stone with them confirming for sure, yeah, no, this is all that it is. All right, and we are done. Phew, that was not as bad as some of the other projects. I didn't even have to change nozzles throughout or use any weird sprays. It was just a few tricky angles, but not bad. An accomplished display of pressure washing. Well done. My Helter Skelter is undisputedly the tallest and arguably cleanest ride at our carnival, so therefore it is the best. A team of inspectors have thus far failed to detect any residual deposits. Congratulations, 7.5 out of 10. I was right. Next one is a plane. Oh, okay, I was a private jet, to be specific. Perfect timing, as you can see. Who is this? Blake Thrust, main hangar. Who's Blake Thrust? Have we talked to that person before? I don't remember. Perfect timing, as you can see. I've encountered a few issues with my private jet. That's what comes from flying too close to the sun, or in this case, a volcano and the ocean. After your application and discretion with my excavation drill. Oh, that guy. Okay. I know you're exactly who I want on the job. As you'll discover, my jet is not without its idiosyncrasies. I trust you to be your usual discreet self in return for an excellent rate. Blake. What is that thing? Okay, this will be fun to dig into and see what's at the bottom. Like, what is on here? Because there's definitely some weird attachments on here that I'm not sure what that is. What time is it though? I gotta call it a night. So this will be for another time. I think I covered the details of what I wanted to cover pretty well. I'm happy with it, at least. And I hope you guys are too. I can buy some more metal cleaner. That's not a good sign, though. That probably means we're going to have a lot of rust on this thing. Well, maybe not. It could be a lot of things. Alright. We're going to want that soap nozzle. I suspect. Oh, wait. It was the prime one that I want. I should have gone. Whoops. That's this. That's a different one. Too late now. We're out of money. Well, hopefully I'll just have to downsize to the other one if I need it. But hey, we got this now, so yeah. River Vista 3000. Wait. I didn't have the soap nozzle for that one already? Oh, were we using a lowercase soap nozzle on it? Wait. 3,000. Urban Vista. I'm slightly confused. Or did I just skip using that one? Alright, anyhow, new things. We're getting close to unlocking most, like, basically everything, though, at least that is initially for all the attachments and all that, which is fun and cool, and I'm happy with that. It'll be interesting to see where it goes long term, and it'll be interesting to see, like, I'm curious where some of the storyline is going to go, what else they're going to throw at us for cleaning, and I definitely, like, I'm getting close to the point where I'm going to be comfortable jumping into the extra stuff like the Warhammer things and feeling like I'm not just completely jumping in out over my head. And the Warhammer ones I'm looking forward to just for the sake of talking Warhammer stuff while we clean, instead of necessarily some of the other things. But I do enjoy doing these videos, and I hope you are enjoying as well, listening to me ramble, and also just having a quieter stream of something. Like, this game's kind of relaxing. It's nice on a day when I just need to have a quieter time. But having to be, I have to try hard on this to engage while also actually, beating and making progress. This one, you can make progress without having to stress about it most of the time. Except for when you can't find the little teeny spot you missed. Anyway, comments below what you guys think. Ideas for light and dark use in your campaigns and dungeons and various vision settings. We didn't even talk about all the different vision capabilities that D&D has, because there's blind sight, there's another name, I can't remember it, but there's a number of different vision types that can come into play that can really be used for and against your party. But yeah, comments below ideas you have for ways to apply it. Let's brainstorm some fun things to throw at your party members, or something you've experienced as a party member that you enjoyed or disliked. Like, was there some way that someone did something and you were just like, man, that sucked? Or was there some way that someone did something you were like, that was amazing, I loved it? Comments below, share it. I love talking D&D stories. Be respectful of each other, as you always, but have fun with it. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe to keep them released if you're new here and haven't done so already. Good night, everyone. Bye.